additional advantage, right? It gives you so much availability of cover and able to get out of the fight very quickly because you can quickly put a block between yourselves.
Looks like Gonzo might be in a spot of bother right now. Wow. Sat outside right next to Zeus. Have they spotted him? I'm not entirely sure they have just yet.
He's in an odd spot, that's for sure. I mean, Gonzo has been one of the major players from Canina Power.
Ooh, he's just biding his time. The rest of his squad not quite nearby. I think they've spotted out certainly another team. I'm not sure which team. I think they might be looking at Bigatron there. Just to
the moment there where Gonzo gets the third. Godless was completely disorientated in that moment. Walking forward, was like, what's happening? My team's dying around me. And it was just one singular player in Gonzo. This guy has some absolute chops on the guy. The rest of Canina Power, however, they weren't with him. The IGL of the team now takes a back seat and can now almost pull out the puppet strings and see where the rest of the team would like to go going forward. But right now, they will have to slip underneath Bigatron, not a team that you really want to trifle with too early on the game, especially with only 3 players remaining.
RRQ, they've exited Pachinki and they're scoping out towards Alpha 7, or a little bit further west of them in the hills, around that central settlement of the map that we all know and love. A couple of shots being popped off. I think that might be towards Clash Diddle Athletics at that range, all the way down on that southwestern side. Yet to cross the bridge from that military island, got Aerowolf, Limax, Footballist as well, all the way over in Novo. So they're going to have to make a move pretty soon. Otherwise they will be crunched in by that circle. That's Nova XQF actually being spotted out by RRQ there. Paraboy takes a knee. King sailing in across the fields. Tries to pop the sail, get there a little bit faster, but just... oh dear.
He's like, Paraboy, you may think I'm coming to pick you up. I am in fact just saying goodbye.
He might be trying to get another off angle to suppress fire and get the rest of the team back in, so dropping the smoke down on Paraboy. They do have a little bit of time to play with. It's first knock. They'll be okay for now.
Yeah. Also, because it's the first circle, a lot of teams actually have to rotate through one another to get to this place, which gives ample time for Nova XQF to try and do something about the situation. It is unfortunately fairly dire, and most likely not going to come to bear. Jimmy takes one shot from the DP, but he is now engaging the rest. Oh, Jimmy. Oh.
Looks to get him up. I think he's going to be able to stick it. They're both alive, but for how much longer? Suppression continues to come through from RRQ. More smokes being dropped to try and keep them safe. They have a UAS to use as cover. They could potentially just drop that down, and another player from Nova XQF into the rescue. They grab them all and get away, but will they be able to make it for the hills? G9 not going to be spraying down the UAS this time. And with a little bit less pride, Nova XQF survive all 4 of them.
Well, I know. I mean, they've surprisingly got away with that one. Nova XQF have performed a bit of a saving private Paraboy there. We're able to get him out, some beautiful smokes. And honestly, I think the majority of that play came through from King. That off angle provided a lot of time, forced G9 into a bit of an awkward position, which meant that he was shooting the DP from quite a large range. Sends in Jimmy. G9 can't peek out too wide for fear of King within the forests, and they're able to make it happen. And now they have a very central position within the circle and a nice compound that they scouted out earlier, which Order is currently holding down.
Regrouped back into the midst of it. Footballists, they're making their cross. They move to the western bridge to contest, actually, with Aerowolf Limax on the opposite side. Pepper potting their way up, Solkate as the vanguard to try and get across here. Teammate coming to back him up there in the form of Rome. Trying to scope out those off angles. Aerowolf Limax, the question for them is, do they want to stay and try and guard this, or do they want to push further in, try and get themselves some more real estate into these later circles?
You know, what usually happens for Aerowolf Limax is they kind of just flood out a tiny little bit outside of the bridge here, try and maintain some control towards the southern side, and then just wait it out for quite a long time. And to be honest with you, that worked out for Aerowolf Limax towards the end of the league stage. But that was all about survival. That was all about making it into the finals itself. They had to put up some decent numbers to get into there. I believe it was like 40 points a day. They needed to, 40 points a game, sorry, they need to hit on that last 3 matches to make it in. They made it quite handily. It was an astonishing performance, but they played very, very safe. They're probably not going to be afforded that same kind of safety here in this lobby with 16 teams that are all hungry for this. Wow, that's a lot of viewers, guys.
That is
we have already surpassed.
Wow. We've already jumped over that 1 million mark. Almost 3 million there.
I think it was 1.1 million for the World League, actually.
Oh, I'd have
that we hit the concurrent on. So
I'd have to go back
past that. We'll check that later. But that's incredible, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you.
Brilliant stuff, and so early into the tournament. Beautiful. Next circle pops in honor of that surpassing mark there, and it's going to shift down south. This is actually a pretty tricky circle because most of it is cut off. Military Island has some land, but it's most likely going to leave.
Yeah, it would be absolutely mental if we went back down to Sosnovka military base. So we're most likely not going to see that. So teams trying to take up position, but it does give time for footballers to just kind of hang around on this bridge. No one's going to be coming back over to Sosnovka military base. That would be ridiculous. So footballers can kind of just watch the action unfold as we see Zuxi take some shots down towards RRQ, who are on the low ground right now. Zuxi heads to the other side, tries to apply a bit more pressure. Ernie takes another clip there.
Origami Master Zuxi unfolds things how he likes. What's the opposite of origami? I'm not entirely sure, but it's certainly going on right now. Nade over into the smoke.
That's ruining a good swan, that is.
Guard over to RRQ on the position, who moved south to try and get on the edge of that bridge. But footballists are yet to cross. Airwolf Limax waiting in the wings. It's a very tricky spot for these players.
Yeah, but Na'Vi, I like this rotation. You can't see it on your screens right now, but they've headed down on the western side, leapfrog down over the yellows, all the way on the coast. And they're going to come in down towards Quarry, behind 4AM, behind Digital Athletics. And this is something that we saw them do a lot. We wanted them to stop taking fights so early in the game as it proved fatal for them later on. Now they have 4 players remaining. 10 minutes 48 into the match. This is good.
The issue for them will be Quarry as a feature in the terrain, right? They have to either go south or north of it. It's going to be very difficult to move past it. The benefit they have, of course, though, is that the plane path started northeast, ended a little bit far away from that western edge, which means it's unlikely that there are going to be a lot of teams in this sort of area of the map. So it's a nice little spot for them. It's difficult terrain to manage, but hopefully they'll be able to get a little bit of respite for it.
It is smart, like you say, especially with the plane paths we saw early. They have just swung all the way over the anti-clockwise terrain here to make it down, so they can be pretty comfortable, just like footballers currently are hiding out on the bridge. But you would imagine that Airwolf, RQ would know of their presence at this point. They're far too busy with the other teams that are surrounding them within this circle. We've got Abrupt Slayers on our screen right now just holding down a compound. They have a fair few vehicles for themselves, 4 in total, with all wheels still on board, keeping them very safe behind this building for the time being.
Everyone now moved central. They've made that shift. Only 2 casualties so far, almost 12 minutes into this first game blank, and that was that initial combat between Gonzo in the compound with Zeus.
Yes.
Able to strike out towards the gods. But
with Gonzo himself.
He's Gonzo, mate.
He is Gonzo. He took a couple down with him, though. Fantastic stuff from him.
A little bit of damage, but will they be paying the price here for it, right? Because they're on the eastern side. They might find it tricky to move on through. Zeus at the moment still being guarded out. Kanina Power. They've moved somewhere.
They're up top.
They've gone for a big rotation.
They actually haven't gone for a massive rotation. They've come from Milta towards Pachinki and just headed down from school side. I don't mind this too much, mainly they've come this way because of the hills that are available to them. Next circle pops. Head pretty hard down to the southwest here towards Quarry, that feature you mentioned early. And Nova XUF, they are on the move. They'll be crashing directly into Class Digital Athletics.
Okay, it looks like Ray-Z gets first strike, but the bullets are thick and fast, back straight at him. Jimmy behind the corner, low HP.
Silas.
One knock traded off. Selim on the off angle. Solus, Silas, all moving in. Beautifully orchestrated for Class Digital Athletics right now, as 2 players from Nova XQF have dropped for the cost of 1. Ray-Z low, down on bended knee. Selim up into the window to go for the res. Jimmy getting flushed. 3 players from Nova XQF are down. Only 1 remains. And it's unlikely that they're going to be able to get the res here.
It is a wild crash here, but you can understand why Nova XQF did it. They had to get into position. Unfortunately for them, Clans Digital Athletics are already here with the 3 players with S's in their name, and it's a triple S performance from them to hold down this compound. And now King has to leave. Can King Cobra start to snake it out later on this game? We'll find out if Stars can hit these shots.
Oh, the spray, half HP for King. Reload comes through. The rest of Classical Athletics continue. The suppression, and there's so few ways for him to be able to get away from this. It's disaster for King, but he is still alive. We'll see how much further they can go. The circle with the shift southwest. Navi circle, anyone? Let's take a look up at the northeastern edge. At the moment, you've got Alpha 7, you've got Team Secret, you've got Zeus, Kanina Power, all moving.
Yeah, Bigatron also have to come through. They know the position of RRQ. Footballers have made their way across the bridge now. This is important for them. There's a fight currently going down. Airwolf and Power 888. This is the wall that Power 888 need to bust through at the moment if they want to make their way into this circle.
Oh. Dewey goes down there to a spray. Close up is Corpai as well, who's on bended knee. TTT will fall, and now it's just Ice left in the back lines for Power 888. Reduced to 1. And I have to try and strike out further. Them and Nova XQF now on their last legs.
Potato on the prowl. TTT sure to go down. Ice in the background just wants to make this one through. You mentioned Na'Vi. What a godly position they have on the coastal side. All they have to do now is worry about the 180 to the north. This is probably what's going to be the most worrisome for them going forward. They have a really nice position, and it's open ground coming into their terrain. They're really, really looking towards this next circle to decide what they want to do next. Super Una, grenade in hand, A1. You want to be terrified of one like that.
Oh, is it going to find any damage? Not quite. Suppressing them, actually pushing them forwards a little bit closer to Super Una's spot. And the northeastern edge, there was a big conflict between Team Secret and Alpha 7 that Alpha 7 categorically came out the victors of. One player now remaining for Team Secret. That's on that northeastern edge. Mad Toy survives. Circle pops, and it goes pretty central.
Does go pretty central right now. Na'Vi can be safe. They pretty much got directly a loot box on their heads. But the main point of contention is up towards the northern side. King currently in his warehouse, and about 5 other teams in this area all vying for position. But the eastern push is going to be gross watching it going forwards. Kanina Power rushing their way through the roadside whilst all these teams are locked in combat currently.
4 angry men have just spread out on this western edge and just chilling right now. One of their players is not, they should be able to get the res. They are completely open for business right now. Ooh, Potato takes a little bit of damage. Ooh. Some knocks coming through over to Kanina Power. Remember, they've lost a player early, so it's just Axa remaining, looking for the res onto Black-White. Frozen's low and bleeding out. Kanina Power, they're on the southern edge. They're in the circle, but with only the shack to protect them, it's not the best of spots.
I believe that was a bit of martyrdom there, actually, with the nade dropped to the floor as one of the players died within the shack itself. So pretty unfortunate for Kanina Power. It's not how you want to go down. Frozen also took a beating once he hit the floor.
Oh dear.
You imagine Kanina Power's only down to the 1. That's wrong. They popped out the vehicle by Ice. Last remaining member of Power 888 just trying to make his way in. Does, in fact, have a vehicle to make this happen too.
Takes a player out of Footballist, removes a little bit of strength from the competition, will need to try and sneak through the gaps moving forwards. It's zone 4, which means the zone is survivable, but as a solo player on this eastern edge, is looking pretty shaky right now. You can see him skirting around the edge of this fight. Airwolf maybe looking to spot him, trying to blend in with Footballist. He took down a player of Footballist, and he's like, I'm in Footballist now?
I am Footballist?
I am Footballist player. Oh dear. That's Mad Toy being eliminated, and with it, the first team of the PMGC finals goes down. Team Secret, not so lucky on the northern side. Alpha 7, nail in the coffin.
Secret Gen, however, keep paying it forward over on this northwest side. Praise be Mustache Dave, because 4 AM are big chilling over to the west. Keeping it nice and easy. We've got Hasaki as well as Svan, some absolute massive players when it comes to long-range weapons. Up on the top of Quarry, looking down onto these players. Ice finally goes down. It was a desperate attempt to get towards the middle of the field and try and get this game a little bit further for Power 888, but it's not meant to be.
Bigatron have spotted out Footballist atop the hill. They're stood in their way, and they don't really want to be in those sites. Solka, you can see him low down the hill. Lutz trying to look for that res. The heals need to come through as well. Na'Vi are just vibing right now. They're the same. Big chillin' on the western edge. They have that compound. It's nice and strong. It's actually not too hard to leave. The road cross should be okay for them if they need to move further north.
I mean, they got next day delivery on that loot box as well, which basically drops on top of their compound. So A couple of players have got a nasty weapon and some pretty jacked up supplies. Aerial Fleamax playing it very slow at the moment. They know that A1's in their way currently. They do not want to lose a lot of players. They perform best when they have a lot of players remaining at the end of the game. Alpha 7 taking the shots towards Zeus. Zyol over on that side taking a fair few shots of his own. At the moment, with the way the terrain is currently looking, where there are some dips all over the place, most teams aren't taking too many fights.
A1, 2 players remaining for them. Parallel rotation to Aerowolf Fleamax. They've been locked in combat for quite a while now. The circle shift comes through. It's right on top of Navi's compound, so they're looking happy. RRQ going back and forth with Bigatron as well. And all of this on the southeastern side. You said this eastern thing would get messy.
It's going to get messy here. Super Una looking to toss the grenade. Aerial Fleamax, they have to move now. They are the furthest away from the circle itself with A1. That's 6-9 down.
Oh, first fall and Jax in the grass. Look at the spray. Halve will get taken low, but that's it. A1 are done and dusted, but a long road ahead for Aerowolf Fleamax.
I love that, though, from the Wolves themselves. They pull the trigger on that fight. They know they need to go. They can't hang around any longer. But Na'Vi in a great spot. King Cobra makes his way across the roadside underneath Na'Vi, using them essentially as bodyguards. If I'm 4am, I'm looking at some point, some way to try and keep an eye on this compound, but that is now King out from Nova XUF in 12th.
Na'Vi, they've got the strong compound. For 4 Angry Men, they've got the western side of this hill ridgeline, which means that they are waiting for everybody to push their way. These two teams, absolute powerhouses in this circle.
D2E, I believe he actually was the one to spot out King. He'd already had the idea that King had. I was like, no, actually I came up with this first.
Footballists, they are a little bit down, but certainly not out. Solkay has been knocked. But Lutz continues to put the pressure. Aerowolf Fleamax, this is the difficult road they had to tread in the middle of the circle. Spalv goes down. And they will be looking to push in with Potato. Kanina Power as well. They were struggling earlier on. They get peppered in the shack that they had, and now it's just Black-White remaining. Out in the blue as well, getting pushed on in its zone 5, so it will start to hurt.
Yeah, you start to hear the percussion of the battlefield as we come to a crescendo here in the circles. Most teams having to push into this one. Abrupt Slayers finally move away from that compound that kept them covered on the west side from the ridge. They will have to move their way in. Secret Jin taking a little bit of a nasty fight of their own between Alpha 7 and themselves. Lutz goes down, Lovazin last remaining, and Cloud Digital Athletics making their way in. This is a team that we need to talk about. They have been on top for so long for the EMEA region. They've really made a fantastic showing in the league stage. They're paying it forward.
Finally going down there. Alpha 7 as well, they're taking the fight. They've been dominant on this northern edge right now, but Team Secret Jin giving them a little bit of a run for their money. Na'Vi continue to put the pressure out in all directions.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, Clustered Athletics are able to just bump on down anybody trying to step in. That's the Abrupt Slayers falling. On the northern side, Alpha 7 survive, but they're down to 1 standing. 2 players knocked. Very difficult to move on in.
G9 making his way into the circle itself. That's old boy. Taking shots over towards G9. He will, in fact, go down. But RQ, they've got insurgents absolutely everywhere on this map towards the south. Off to the east now in Beer 11. Circle finally moves away from Na'Vi, and they have to start to consider how they want to make this one go forward. But 4am, they loom off in the distance.
Goodness me, they've stayed completely quiet for most of this game blank. No one has really actually encroached into any of their territory. And finally, D2E steps up and looks to Tixie, sprays him down on the roof. Na'Vi down to 3, reducing their power somewhat. Moving forwards, RRQ, 2 players alive. 4 Angry Men, all 4 of them still standing. And Footballist, they've managed to sneak on in right to the middle, top 5.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, for RRQ, they've been under pressure this entire game, sending Beer 11 and D2E out wide. It was an excellent idea, in fact. I really, really like it. It means that they have a good chance to at least make it into the top 4. Na'Vi, like you said, though, with their power now slightly dwindled by the fact they just lost Tixie, going against 4am is looking a lot less unlikely.
4 Angry Men looking most likely to take this one home here, Blank. 88%, that's a lot of numbers. D2E will get knocked on the attempted cross there and will fall down. Lovazin has been spotted by Hasaki. And at range, we know what a monster this guy is. D2E flushed on out, just Beer 11 now standing for RRQ. 5 teams remain. How long will Lovers in last under the pressure from 4 Angry Men, from Class Digital Athletics as well?
You gotta love this from 4 AM, the way they're just moving up nice and slow. That is that sliver of the body that was so easily hit by 4 AM.
But 2 players go down in turn, and that's really going to take the wind out their sails on this northern edge. Gives Na'Vi a chance to regroup.
This is okay for 4 AM though. They have time over here. They have the vehicles available to them as well. And Digital Athletics, their broadside is completely open to Na'Vi.
Class Digital Athletics, oh, they're getting knocked quite a few times. That's Na'Vi doing so much damage, they were able to take it down.
That's 9 kills on the board for Na'Vi already. What a way to start the tournament. And Lovers In is now out.
There we go. It is Na'Vi and 4 Angry Men, last 2 teams. We saw the positions they had. They've managed to use them here. It's 3 versus 3.
Great position here from Matic, which is still within the circle, but they need to really take advantage of this position whilst they still have it, because it's very unlikely you're going to get... it has to be the hardest shift down to the south if Na'Vi want to hold on to any of these buildings. They have to cross the road. 4AM with so many vehicles available to them, they've got a compound of their own over here, and look at that circle. It is right on top of 4AM.
But 4AM, they didn't have the info. They were shooting in completely the wrong direction, and this could prove vital for Na'Vi's efforts. Oh boy, up close and personal. Needs to find a little bit of cover as Suk up the hill, over the top, trying to jump around the smoke, get a little bit of info. Nades, back and forth. Matic still on the overwatch, not going in with the team. A little bit of a dud bobble there on the nade as Meku shimmies out wide. They managed to get in the circle with Old Boy.
Our smokes are down, and this is more for denying vision towards 4 AM. Very smart stuff coming through from Na'Vi. And like you said, John, they took that opportunity and they just ran with it. Na'Vi can be an aggressive team when they absolutely want to. I mean, they've tried to be the entirety of the first 3 weeks of the tournament, so this is kind of like second nature to them.
Matix making the push on foot across the road now, Blank. This is what the smokes were in aid of, drawing that attention away. And now Matic has a cheeky little off angle. No vehicle noise, and will get that loot crate as well.
This is so good. These mollies are targeting exactly on the trees.
Oh, look at that. That's the first knock. It's now down to a 3 versus 3. Sorry, there were 4 players from 4 Angry Men still alive in the midst of things. Meku up top, nade over his way, but it's only 98. Suk, a lot of damage sent his way. Oh boy, not quite able to get that full knock just yet. Pushes up the hill. Spawn down in the grass. They know where he is. They're trying to laser beam on. Suk suppress. Needs to heal a bit. Matic nade over the top to the back of Svan. Suk pressure towards the rest of the squad.
Matic.
He's been spotted. And a little bit of respite as Haseki goes for that res. Over onto Shinhe.
Oh dear, this is not looking good for Na'Vi. That little bit of advantage that they had accrued early has been completely taken away. Some good knocks coming through from 4AM, or at least some good damage, sorry, which has held Na'Vi at bay. And you wonder how much utility they have remaining.
Oh, that's a knock. That's a nasty knock as well for Na'Vi. They're down to 2, and that's their off angle taken out of the mix. It's definitely just these 2 players now.
Things are so much more linear here for 4AM going forward. Pasaki goes down. Okay. 3v2, oh boy, next, and now just 1 player remains.
Meku up the top. You said he was doing a lot of work for the squad, and now he needs to put it all on the line. 2 players in action right now, and this res will bring all 4 back for 4 Angry Men. The western edge was dominated by them in this circle. It moved their way, and now they're looking to put that final nail in the coffin. Suk sprays down towards Meku. The bullets start to land, but he's yet to go down, and finally they make it happen. 4 Angry Men take the chicken dinner.
Svan with the 3 fantastic stuff there, John.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff at the end there. 4 Angry Men take the first chicken dinner of the PMGC finals. Excellent work from them. They played it cool, they played it calm, and they were able to take it home. Let's head back over to the analysts.
Well, honestly, I don't think we have it any other way, guys. They won the league.
Whatsoever right now because of the teams qualifying for this event, and they're like, you know what? Easy nice rotation. Like, it was an eastern flame path, like the circles to the west, gonna wrap around and make it through Quarry, and they had such a good spread, gathering so much information, and then the circle just kept coming their way, and they're like, well, we'll take it. Thank you very much for the win.
Yeah, it's something that
LeMax struggling.
Yep.
This team struggled like hell, and they come out second place. That has to be massive for the morale of the team.
Yeah, and something that I wanted to mention at the beginning, but I wasn't able to, is I had a conversation with Old Boy, and something that he told me he was able to focus on a lot more was their IGL. They know they have the fragging power. They know they're able to do amazing stuff in regards to just being able to get kills. They just have to put themselves in that position. And boy, did they do that. Just seeing us watching the game, seeing them being able to rotate perfectly just from George Bull down to Primors and waiting patiently to see where the circle was going to go to. And then as soon as it switched, they would automatically go to it. So that kind of stuff, setting themselves up for success, I love seeing that from that team.
Yeah, in the EMEA League, like, they were just dominating really heavily, and when I was being critical about them, I think that since the EMEA League into the league stage of the PMGC, they didn't really evolve and improve that much. They didn't change many things, and I think that IGLing is definitely one of those few things they had to work on, and we just brought that up. And like, that IGLing there to go for that compound specifically next to Fairy Pit was just such a good and worth time call. And it paid off really well. Like, second position, first game, that's huge.
And I do want to say something really big for Na'Vi here, too. I mean, Old Boy, we know this name back from Berlin, right? He was one of the top fraggers throughout the entire event. But also, just over a week ago, his father did pass away due to COVID. And for him to come into this event, not being able to attend his father's funeral, I think this is his chance. I think in his mind, it's to prove like his love to his father and to show respect for him to come out strong in this event. And for them to take a second place off the bat, I think they've already shown it, which I think is a big fire lit up against or under the Na'Vi team.
Yeah, I'm a big person in momentum. I'm a big person in being able to take control of the moment, and I think they were able to do just that, being able to perform in the first game. And after what you just said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be more of a confident boost as well. And I know Old Boy, I know he's fired up. I know he's looking forward to get this win.
Yeah, I mean, born to win. I know that's exactly what the momentum is going to be for them. So hopefully they can get it.
And then looking at another team who unfortunately didn't have as strong of a start. I think it was Blank who said, and I'm sorry, Blank, if I'm wrong, that he expects Nova to do extremely well in this game. But they ran straight into Class Digital Athletics, and this is a team we've been talking about right before we even started the game. You got to watch out for them, and they picked up so many kills off that.
I mean, also, like, they dropped, like, close to where that circle finishes initially, and they just tried to play, like, too much on the edge of the circle, trying to not get too involved in those fights. But the thing is, when you play a little bit too laid back and you're trying to just go for, like, big rotations, you're going to struggle. And they understood that. They're like, you know what, we're playing too passive, we're getting bullied on the edge of the circle, we're going to try and full send it into a compound. Unfortunately, that compound, yeah, Class Digital Athletics, and they were ready for that fight. They got 3 players, they left King remaining as a one-man team, tried to escape into a compound to remain unscathed, but unfortunately that was just the lack of information. They went in a compound not prepared whatsoever, and they just couldn't win that fight at all.
And not even that. If we go back a little bit more before that, we saw RRQ G9 being able to knock down Pairboy. And then they kind of had to scramble with Nova Esports and try to figure out how are we going to get Pairboy. We cannot afford to lose a player of that caliber so early in the game. They were able to recover really well, but it goes once again back to what we were saying. This team needs to be able to adjust on the go in regards to hardships. This game tends to hardships a lot, and with them positioning themselves in the middle every single time, it might put them at a huge disadvantage, especially towards the end, when we were able to see them just go up against Class DA.
Well, you guys are mentioning RRQ Athena, and we have to talk about them a little bit. You guys said at the start of the day, they won the last time here in Dubai. Ever since then, it seems like they always place third. But that's, I think, a good start for them, considering they did well, and Bigatron, unfortunately, falling out very early on. I think that's a start that you want to see if you're a fan of RRQ Athena.
Yeah, I like definitely like that the two-man split they had at the very finishing moment there, because they knew they were going to get gate kept by Na'Vi in that bottom compound. Like, you know what? We know we can't win that fight. Just going to try and spread our wings evenly, try and potentially just grab a few positioning points, and that allowed them to actually have both Class DA and also Footballists to die, and now allowed them to secure third position. So sometimes, you know, we talked about it a lot into the league stage. Sometimes you must understand we're not going to win. We know for 100% we're not going to take this W. Let's try and get up as many kills or as many positioning points as possible. That was the mindset they went with, and now they got third position on that first game. That's a huge way to kick off your finals event.
And something to mention of that too is, I know you were talking about it before too in regards to RRQ Athena being like the bridesmaid to Bigatron. Well, guess what? RRQ Athena was able to finish off Bigatron there in that last game. So that's a little bit of an extra confident boost for them as well. And going back to what you were saying with RRQ Athena, I love the split between them. How D2E was able to just try to get an off angle and see if he could at least, he knew that more than likely it was going to be a miracle if they won that game. But why not? Let's try to get those extra kills. Let's try to get those extra points in the first game of this tournament.
And Seven, this is something we talked about here, about 6 matches a day, 4 days, right? you can't really afford to have too many bad games if you want to be the team taking home 700 grand, right? But I'm curious, what was your thoughts on the playstyle in general when it came into this lobby? Do you think teams were playing really reserved, really careful and cautious? Or do you think there were some teams out there that were like, you know what, we're just going to play the way we know how to play and maybe get extra aggressive for those early points?
I think teams were just trying to go for it. If they saw a chance to get a kill, if they saw a chance to get a point, they were going to go for it. And we saw that specifically with Zeus and Kunina Power. We saw them being able to engage. We also saw with our Q Athena being able to maintain control, move from Pachinki, and then get on a higher ground. And every single time that they were able to see anybody, they kind of shot at them. They wanted to get into the action. So I think a lot of these teams are, especially in Erangel, since we're going to be playing through Erangels, they're trying to establish, hey, this is my position. If you come near me, you are going to get knocked.
Yeah, just to remind you guys at home, yes, the teams are playing for $700,000, but you at home still have a chance to win prizes as well. Every match of the day, you have to predict who will win that match in that game. And if you're correct, you have a chance to win a portion of 10 million AG and 1 million UC. Not to mention, if you're right the entire event, $150,000 on the line, and it will be split against all the winners. So we could technically have one person winning $150,000. Were you right on your first prediction?
I mean, I'm not going to even try and participate now because I'm going to just jinx every single team.
See, he can't play in it, so I like how you went the other round of it, saying, oh, you know, I don't want to take the money away from people.
You're not supposed to say that.
Let's take a look at overall settings, though, from that last match to get an idea of where all the teams do currently stand. You can see 4 Angry Men in first place. They get the chicken dinner, and they get themselves 9 kills to boot. But looking down the list here, Na'Vi, for me, 9 kills. Super important for them to be able to have the fragging power, but also blend it well with their placements, because that's something, Seven, we've talked about so much. Whether event it is, you have to have that nice marriage between kills and placements.
Yeah, and they were able to do that. And talking about that marriage, well, let's talk about Alpha 7. They were able to get 8 kills and only 2 placement points, and that is huge. We saw them being able to take on big fights and finishing off those big fights, and with them being the only team in a sense from Americas, they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders. And also one thing in regards to Alpha 7 is that they ended up losing one of their main IGLs in V2K. So interesting stuff that I'm glad they were able to perform like that on the first game.
Yeah, really happy with them. And of course, you know, we're looking for the MVP of this game. Hasaki from 4AM is going to be there. It was going to be a 4AM guy, of course. It was going to be the case. You know, 3 kills, damage 549. Not as top heavy as you would expect from, like, you know, an MVP typically. And also survival time of 26 minutes as they were able to secure that dub right away. Like, big stuff from them.
We need to remind people at home, yes, there's a lot of men in the line for winning the event. There's also 15 grand for being the MVP, right? So yeah. Hasaki already off to a very strong start. We had Spawn take it from 4 Angry Men in the league stage. He got himself $10,000 extra, which hopefully he split across the team, because it's really hard. You know, you need your team to back you up. But moving on ahead from this, obviously a strong start for Hasaki, which is, funny enough, normally not one of the players for 4 Angry Men that we look at to be the big fragger, right? It's normally Sook and Spawn. But we can see a comparison here between Silas and Law. And we can see the longest distance kill, 297 meters. Not bad here from Law.
I wish I could do shots like that, but unfortunately, I'm kind of
I mean,
like,
I could be
good.
2 meters away from them and I'll still miss 7.
With the shotgun, just completely missed it point blank. But, you know, coming into this, you know, like, they've been also doing really good for their side. I think that DA as a whole has been able to step up as an entire squad. I think that every single one of their players have been able to just be one of those pillars of the team, able to really remain consistent throughout the entirety of the league stage. So big stuff on them, but also Law. Scouting information for Alpha 7, here's one of the main reasons why they were able to get themselves such a strong position up north and get, as you mentioned, 7, so many frags.
Yeah, and also Alpha 7 had to do a little bit of a swap of roster, right? Vitsu 2K no longer playing for the team, so for Mafioso to come in, they have to adapt to that kind of style. But I wonder, 7, Carrillo on the sidelines.
Yep.
Maybe he's giving them some advice.
He could be, and I mean, talking about Carrillo, he used to play with Loops Esports. I think this is great that he's here. He's going to be able to, and I was talking to him, he was telling me, man, I'm so happy that I'm here, even if I'm not able to play. I'm being able to collect all this experience. I know what to expect in the future. And going back to Alpha 7 and saying how they ended up losing V2K, well, guess what? Now Law is their only IGL, and Sinab was able to tell me that they're the fraggers. And then with Mafioso, they have him currently as a free man, being able to kind of fill out places, being able to be a supporter or a fragger, whatever they need to. And so far, I mean, I know they only got 2 placement points, but it worked pretty well for them. I honestly, for the first game, I did not expect them to perform that well, so congratulations on that, Alpha 7.
Yeah, they were the standout Brazilian team when it came to PMGC in the league stage, over Loops for the majority of the event, and Loops obviously to pass them in the end. But we can see here are kills and damage across the board for all these teams, and 4 Angry Men clean up a couple of kills from other teams, but you see Na'Vi, 2K damage, the most out of the entire lobby, and the 9 kills.
Yeah, it seemed like they definitely put themselves back in question coming into this event, so really good stuff from Na'Vi. Like, got like No, 4 AM, you got Na'Vi, you got DA, and then rock bomb down rock bottom. You got Footballist, 127 damage, 1 frag. They were just snaking into the grass, hoping to get positioning points. And you know what? You know, maybe snaking is not the most well-recognized and sought after kind of play style, but here, you know, taking a 4th position and 1 frag off of that, like, I'll snake like that every day.
At the end of the day, points are points. It doesn't matter how you get them, as long as you end up getting them, right? And now with one of the other teams I do want to talk about, it's going to be Team Secret. They ended up in 16th place there. I believe they ended up with just 1 kill. I want to see, this is one team I actually wanted to touch a little bit more at the beginning of the show, is I want to see more out of them. We know they're such a top team from Malaysia, but every single time I talk about Team Secret, I don't really, they're not, in a way, they're not living up to the hype for me when it comes to the global stage. I want to see more out of them. So Team Secret, if you're listening to me, please, I'm calling you out. I want to see a lot more, especially in this day 1.
Well, we can see here our summary from the match, some highlights from it. We have our highest kills coming in for Law. We can see the longest distance kill as well for Law. Really stepping up, though his hair color has changed, as you can see on our FXGG card. It's dyed it. It's took a note from 7. But we can also see like distance travel, which I think is really interesting because we talk about Nova. They like to be center. The zone shifts to them generally help them. But we see for Angry Men here, Hasuki had the farthest distance traveled in the match.
Yeah, it comes down to like the rotation I spotted out earlier. No, Yasnai Poliana, because they're not contested, wrap around through the entire western side because of the hard shift of the circle away from the east to the west, and it just made it really easy for him to like get the longest distance traveled in that game. So not really too heavily surprised, but like 3 players of Alpha 7 on that top 5 players of that game alone. Like no, like that northern